something special happened 6,000 years ago when the horse was domesticated. The world was transformed. The equine speed and power gave man a new approach to the world. The reign of the horse lasted until the introduction of the steam engine. Many now say the horse is in semi-retirement, with a part-time job as a recreational item. Today in Indiana, the horse takes on several roles. For some, their animal is still a workhorse. Others utilize the horse in different types of competition or for recreation. The most recognizable role for a mount is as a racehorse. A recent study revealed how much impact the equine industry has on Indiana.
The equine industry's contribution to the GDP for the state of Indiana was over $2 billion.
$2 billion generates a lot of horsepower for the state of Indiana.
Support for Horsepower, Indiana's equine industry, comes from Smithville, fiber internet, streaming TV, home security, and automation in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com, and by WTIU members. Thank you.
Oxford, Indiana, a community of 1,100 near Lafayette, is grateful for its water tower. This tower in reality brandishes a message. This typical-looking barn, just a few blocks from the water tower, displays a proud message as well. So, who was this Dan Patch?
Dan Patch was a horse, born in Oxford, Indiana, April the 28th, 1896.
The horse was a standardbred pacer. Owner Dan Messner was hoping to raise his new foal someday, but he immediately had grave concerns.
When this colt was born, he was wobbly, he couldn't stand up.
It had to be held up to nurse its mother.
He had a bad leg.
A lot of people told him he ought to knock it in the head.
Mr. Messner didn't give up on his colt, and as the horse matured, they found ways to compensate for his handicap.
Down at the bottom of his foot, as he'd run, he'd kick that laid out.
And they worked a long time to correct that one bad foot. And finally, one of the veterinarians in Pine Village came up with a special shoe.
With the fix in place, Dan Patch's racing career took off. He won races in Boswell and Lafayette, lowering his time at each contest.
Made people in Oxford feel pretty proud.
After undefeated success at local tracks in Indiana, Messner decided to test the horse at the national level. Dan Patch moved on to the Grand Circuit.
Grand Circuit was a big deal. It was a huge deal. It was the best of the horses.
And he was winning every race he was running.
He did so well that a man by the name of Sturgis wanted to buy him. The real story is Mr. Sturgis was involved with the mob, and he wanted Dan Patch, and Mr. Messner wouldn't sell him. Mr. Sturgis had someone come to Oxford and poison Dan Patch's colt to scare Mr. Messner into selling him, and it worked.
Gave $20,000 for him. When he had him was the last time Dan Patch ever ran a race with another horse, because he's winning everything and they wouldn't run against him anymore. So from then on, he ran against a stopwatch.
He couldn't get a race. He's just like a prize fighter. Couldn't get a race. Mr. Savage was the next owner from Minnesota that bought Dan Patch from Mr. Sturgis.
Bought him for $60,000.
Mr. Savage was a marketing genius who had a great horse and knew how to sell it. He became a sports icon, and so he would draw huge crowds.
Dan Patch broke world speed records at least 14 times. On this day, September 6, 1906, before a crowd of 93,000 at the Minnesota State Fair, Dan Patch set the mile speed record of 1 minute and 55 seconds.
The record he set, 1:55, was never tied for 38 years.
Mr. Savage knew how to take advantage of the horse's accomplishments.
He knew how to market Dan Patch's popularity.
Put his name advertising on everything possible. Dan Patch cigars, Dan Patch pocket watches, Dan Patch knives, Dan Patch pedal cars, Dan Patch wagons, Dan Patch washing machines. They had Dan Patch overalls. I probably had some Dan Patch overalls when I was a kid, but I sure didn't keep them. I wished I had a pair.
He took the horse and made a star of the horse. That's the reason he's significant to Indiana, is because he came from here. And he went on to become, as many people have referred to, the Michael Jordan of modern day harness racing.
Dan Patch, the name, made a lot more money than Dan Patch, the horse.
On the other side of the state, owner W.B. Barefoot of Cambridge City was having great success with his standardbred pacer, Single G, when he started racing in 1915.
Single G, originally, he had several nicknames, but the main primary one was the Wonder Horse, because he raced so long and so hard.
Most horses reach their peak at 3 or 4, or maybe 5. Single G didn't fit that mold. He set his lifetime fastest interval at the age of 13.
He was the first horse to have 3 heats in one day under the time of 2 minutes. That's phenomenal.
Single G's most remembered nickname is the horse that time forgot. It's etched on this memorial in Cambridge City at the entrance to a park. In 1950, a group of harness veterans named the best pacers in the preceding half-century. They picked Single G on top, followed by Dan Patch.
A harness horse is a little different than a runner. He requires quite a few heats. Now, in the wintertime, we go a lot of slow miles.
This is Nat Hill, back in 1968 at the Delaware County Fairgrounds, talking about training horses for his father. His father started Hoosier Hill Farm.
I'm ashamed to admit that's what my father called the place, and I've been too lazy to change it. We are now officially the Barely Able stable.
Nat has been racing horses most of his life. He has an insider's perspective of how Indiana lost its racing luster after the glory years of Dan Patch and Single G.
Pari-mutuel betting is this form of gambling where you go to the racetrack and you place a bet on how you think a horse will perform in a given race. It all goes into one big pari-mutuel pool. A certain amount of it's taken out for the track and the horsemen and taxes and what have you, and then the money goes back to the winning persons who have placed the proper bet. And it was big in Ohio, it was big in Illinois, it was big in Kentucky, and Indiana didn't have it. And that hurt us badly. In 1989, the Indiana voters approved lotteries and pari-mutuel racing, and that was a big deal. It was a success for the Indiana residents, but the purses were small. They did the best they could, but quite honestly, we kind of struggled. The good news was that in 1995, in their third special session, the legislature approved riverboat casinos. Out of every $3 admission fee, 65 cents went to promote Indiana racing.
Next came the possibility of slot machines at the tracks and the dollars they could bring to the horse industry.
My eyes just bugged out. I thought, this is an incredible amount of money. We need to make sure that the horse industry gets part of this because it's our track. In 2007, the Indiana legislature approved slot machines at racetracks. 12% of the win goes to support horse racing in Indiana. It has generated a large amount of money that goes directly to horse racing, and it's worked. That's why we're where we are.
In 2010, many different facets of Indiana's equine industry came together with funding for research by Purdue Northwest to determine the economic value of the industry to the state.
There was no comprehensive data for the entire equine industry in the state at the time. There had been some reports done for horse racing, but not comprehensively for the state. When you talk about the equine industry, to many people in the state of Indiana, they immediately bring horse racing to mind because it gets the most publicity. But there are, in fact, a large number of other equine-related activities.
Welcome to Schooner Valley Stables in Brown County, Indiana. It's home to one of those other equine activities, trail riding.
Grandpa always had horses on the farm. This is a family farm back in the day in Brown County. Loved to ride them back in the Yellowwood State Forest and around the valleys and the hills And then in 1968, he decided to make it a business. So I've been around it my whole life. After school, I'd come down and just be Grandpa's little right-hand man. I was young enough to not have to do all the hard work.
Now, Luke is the one that keeps an eye on the business.
7 days a week, we try and start around 9, sometimes earlier in the busy season, run the herd in.
Well, every morning I come down here and I help saddle, and we get the horses brushed and ready in the morning.
Got to make sure where the saddle and blanket goes is free of debris. Checking for bites and sores and scrapes. Make sure they have second breakfast so they're not real hungry on the trail.
You ready to go eat? You want to go get some eats?
We really like to take the time to make sure all the people, kids, people that are nervous, make sure they have the right horse assigned to them. That's really crucial. You have a choice of this one, which is Ricochet, or the one coming up, which is Karma.
Okay. Karma.
All right, Ricochet it is. We do give a 5-minute lesson. Make sure people know kind of what they're doing on the back of these guys. Your gas pedal's in your heels, so you kick just a little bit to go. Sometimes kicking a little goes a long way. Sometimes you have to kick harder. I'll show you something. Hold on. Ha! Doesn't do much. So you have to kick to go. We don't have an age limit, so if you're breathing, you can ride one of our horses. Usually if they're younger, they can ride with a parent. And if you want to stop, remember you have to use a U. Slide that U down to the hair. Show me what you can do. Use the U, show me how to stop. Stop. Use 2 hands, there you go. Now pull back towards your belly button. Pull back, King. Can you stand up? We'll see you later. There you go, you did it! All right.
With the final lessons learned and the riders settled in their saddles, it's finally time to head down the trail.
Lovers on a slow ride home. Reins are hanging slack, the horses know every foot of this old road. The sun is sinking down, the shadows grow. Soon will come the big-faced moon. I sing you off to sleep with a haggard tune as we go on a slow ride home. Slow ride home. On a slow ride home.
Molly, you have to kick it, okay?
Grandpa wanted to give people as much of a cowboy experience as possible, so he has always offered cantering trails. Folks that have never been on a running horse or a cantering horse, their eyes light up, they get tears, the adrenaline, and that's really what hooks folks. Bounce the giggles out of them.
You can see, even in somebody who's terrified, that sudden change when they realize that it's this relationship that they're being able to build with a beast that's 10 times their size.
Can you make a living doing this? I don't think so. You gotta love it. All of our crew, they take a hit.
Schooner Valley hosts 4 group trail rides throughout the day. With that many opportunities, how many horses does it take to keep the operation running?
We have 39 or 40. We're always buying and selling. It's very hard to have enough, but not too many.
The horses are Luke's livelihood, but they are also a continuous expense.
There's a lot of money that comes in, but it goes almost immediately out. And in the wintertime, there's no income, so you're just pushing feed towards them 24/7. The yearly shots, that covers West Nile and a couple flus, tetanus is in there. Worming every 2 months, you're supposed to go and check their stool for what worming they need, but we're not following 40 horses around with baggies. Hoof care, we tried a barefoot trim. There was a guy that thought to himself, the Mustangs don't ever see a farrier. How in the world do they keep their feet up to par? So he did some studying and found out a way to trim a horse's hoof, mimicking nature. And we tried that with our herd, and about half of them took to it.
They can get really bad and grow real long, and they can actually end up going split toe like a cow. You can get a big split right up the middle. The hoof will actually separate, so it's pretty important to keep up on them and keep them trimmed.
Indiana's state parks are another option for horseback riding. Located just a few miles from Schooner Valley Stables, Brown County State Park has an extensive trail system.
The first horseback rides started in 1929 at Turkey Run State Park, and it was so popular that we continued offering horseback riding basically since that time. We have 12 parks that offer some sort of equestrian recreation, either bridle trails or overnight camping in our horse camps, or through stables, which provide guided horse rides for our customers. We have 6 stables across Indiana. We have 6 equestrian campgrounds with about 460 campsites. We have about 25,000 guided rides through our stables a year. And probably quite a few more come in that own horses and use our bridle trails. Children experience their first horse ride oftentimes at a stable. And to see them light up is really special.
We always say there's enough people coming to the town that want to ride a horse that we don't really consider each other competitors, and we offer something a little different, so they also have a few things that they can do that we can't do. We do it because we love people and we love riding horses. Love seeing the smiles on those kids when they ride their first horse, not a pony. And again, when you take people on running rides, the face that you can see as a guide looking back, you do it because you love it, not because you want to make money.
As we go on a slow ride home, slow ride home, on a slow ride home, slow ride home, on a slow ride home.
Come on, little buddy. Nothing to it.
One of the most exciting times for a horse owner of any breed is the arrival of a new foal. For Standardbred owner Nat Hill, his first foal of the season arrived healthy and happy the last week of March.
It's pretty impressive. You're like, wow, new life. How this thing arrives on the planet and knows how to do this is just beyond my comprehension. It just has to know.
After a quick inspection, Mom finally coaxes her new foal out of the stable for the little one's first steps outside. It's not long before the first nervous steps turn into a run.
But you turn them out, and invariably they run them around here 2 or 3 times. I just am always amazed how coordinated they are at such a young age.
Maybe not always coordinated.
Floppo. Whoop. Well, the ground's cold. I don't think I'll do that. Yeah, kick Mom. That's a high percentage move. And when you figure all the things that could go wrong, it's pretty amazing the percentage of them that arrive like that one did with no trouble.
Like most proud new fathers, one can't help but dream about the future.
It takes a year of foaling and then a year of growing up, and then it's 3 years from the time you breed until you actually might get to the races, and it takes a while. But man, when one of them trains well, and it's one you've raised, and you go to the races, it's something.
Just a couple weeks later, Nat's second foal of the season arrived. its appearance was significantly more complicated.
Well, I was on vacation and I didn't pay much attention to my phone. By the time I got up here and figured out what was going on, I was in trouble. The foal was in great trouble. She was uncoordinated, and when she would try to get up, she'd just go to the side. It was really sad deal. And I've done this before, and I knew we needed to go to Purdue. I know it's a big drop. Come on. Come on. Atta girl. They worked on this filly hard. Every day was touch and go for 2 or 3 days. It took her 4 days before she got up on her own. And once she first got up on her own, we were in business. We got her home today and life's pretty good. It's not alive, healthy, active. Hey, you're not gonna bite me, are you? Healthy foal and life's good. We've had some real heartache over the years, so I don't want to compare it with losing a child or anything that serious, but I had one in particular that was really tough. I had to euthanize it. There wasn't any way I could get a veterinarian to come out, and it was really suffering. I don't cry much, but that was a tough day. Tough day. Look at her, look at that baby trot now. Look at that thing trot, that's all it knows how to do. Are you ever gonna walk, or are you just gonna trot everywhere? That thing doesn't know how to do anything but trot. Look at that. Look at her go. Look at that thing trot. Man. We've had some babies trot, but I don't know that we've ever had a 1-week-old make a lap quite like that. The mare was probably, if not the best, one of the best mares I've ever owned. That stud last year, his yearlings at the yearling sales averaged a higher sale price than any other stud in the state of Indiana. So you take the stud quality, you take the mare quality, you take the fact that this thing trotted at day one, and that's what gets you excited. You're thinking, oh man, now this is going to be the one, you know, this is going to be the one that never loses a race. Well, of course, that's unrealistic, but that's the way you have to look at it. Otherwise, you wouldn't get in the game.
Another way to get in the game is to purchase a horse.
There are, I believe, 2 yearling sales in the state of Indiana. The Michiana one, by and large, is not the highest quality. At the Michiana sale, you show up and you sell.
This Standardbred yearling sale at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis is much more discriminating.
You have to get your horse selected. He has to be approved, and that's why it's a higher dollar sale. They're, quote, select yearlings.
What a great way to start. Here's one by Panther Hanover, second crop.
The thing that drives harness racing is you never really know. I have seen $100,000 yearlings that couldn't trot or pace at all. I saw a guy last summer go to a yearling sale, spend $3,000, and win 10 of his first 11 races.
Coming in a filly, by whom shall I fear?
People have invested good money in a broodmare farm. They don't race them. They're just in the baby producing business.
I brought 14 down this year. It's the most we've had. If we have a nice average, it'll be a successful run. I know what I get into them from day one till sale ring time. We take that times the stallion fee we paid, and that'll determine if we made money or not.
Colt coming in by Rocket Image. This one is from Best Boss. What a great race mare she was. 49-2, 707,000 by Cam Best. She dominated the Kentucky Series.
$50 here, I'm gonna get $5, I'm gonna give $55, you gotta be Kevin here on again, sir. 50,000 in the back, 55 up front, sir. I'm gonna bid it there now, 55. $50,000 bid it down, I'm gonna give it to here now, 60,000. 29 gonna be 5, 10, you get 5, 62,000. 65, Kevin bidders in. 62, 62 in the back, 65, now 67,000. We'll do it turn away. Asking 70,000. And 70,000, he says no, and a half. Kevin Mack, your way, sir, at 67,000.
I just sold 2 horses for more than I've ever sold 2 horses for before, simply because there's opportunities in other places where the breeding industry has not been so successful and where they're not producing enough horses. So there's a shortage of horses in other states. So if you've got an Indiana horse, they want him.
This Hoosier Classic yearling sale had buyers from 15 states, Bermuda, and Canada in attendance. 374 horses were sold, with yearling Bluebird Keepsake bringing in the highest amount with a purchase price of $125,000. Dwayne Miller sold his horse, My House, for $67,000 and was very happy with the outcome of the sale.
It was very successful. We paid $40,000 for the mare, and we paid $4,000 for the stud fee. So I had my time and some feed and stuff, the other little expenses, but the mare's paid for plus. So next year, everything's a profit for it.
Talk about gambling. The gamble is when you go to a sale and plop down your money and buy a horse. It's you never know.
This is Indiana Grand, near Shelbyville. This track is the location where patrons go to watch the Sport of Kings in Indiana.
They're off and running at Indiana Grand and checking out the stars. Flower Pecker.
The racing that takes place here is thoroughbred and quarter horse racing. We have a very stout Indiana bred and sired program for both breeds. We run roughly mid-April through early November, 120 racing days. 6 are unique quarter horse days only. The other 114 are primarily thoroughbred with quarter horses mixed in.
Dave Fuego, Cap Dave Fuego with a 2-race win streak.
Before a trainer can even hope for a 2-race win streak, it takes hours of preparation on the track, preparing your horse for a race.
I train horses. I have a stable here in Indiana Grand. I'm like the coach. Training horses, you're 24/7 because you're on call all the time. But I enjoy it. I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
And they're off.
You know, we have turf racing here. I love turf racing. That's one thing very positive about Indiana Grand is usually they have 3 turf races a day. We race here 4 days a week. You'd like to have a horse that can run either turf or dirt, and then you got the best of both worlds.
And they're off. Nacho Binez sending out for the lead.
Quarter horse races are a quarter mile in length, and the horses run full speed from start to finish.
Quarter horse is booming in Indiana, and it's getting bigger. We've become part of the track here, which races flat saddles. We've got a very strong program here. Very seldom do we ever have a race that with less than 10 in it, and you don't see that at a lot of tracks. Quarter horses in Indiana probably rank in the top 5 in the nation.
We run about 18% quarter horses and about 82% thoroughbreds. That's the general breakdown for it.
On the far outside, one Stormin' Man and Louisiana Lover. They left the bunch.
One of the most familiar equestrian jobs is that of a jockey. It can be a lifestyle with numerous ups and downs.
I rode 15 years as a professional jockey. Rode a little over 16,000 races. Out of those 16,000, I won a little over 1,800 races. I made a very good living at it, actually. Jockey's life is hard. The majority of your jockeys are in a battle with their weight, and it's also a very dangerous career. It's not a matter of if you get hurt, just when and how often. In 2009, I was handed a script for Walt Disney's movie Secretariat. There were 730 jockeys across the United States that auditioned for the part of Ron Turcotte, and I was the one that got to play it. Each jockey has an agent, and that's how they get contracted for their mounts. Their agent makes anywhere from 20 to 30% of their check, which is a big cut. When I was filming in Hollywood, the actors were complaining about paying their agent 7%, and I thought, man, y'all don't know how good you got it, you know?
A jockey will be the first to tell you that the biggest factor of his success is the quality of the horse he gets to ride.
The first thing that I would say about the quality of Indiana horses is they are on the rise, and they have been for quite a while. Last year, we had horses in the Breeders' Cup, which is our Super Bowl of horse racing. We had horses go to Ascot over in England and compete there. We have horses winning graded stakes around the country, and 10 years ago, that just didn't happen.
Providing quality medical care for the racehorse is always a challenge. Located in the shadows of the Indiana Grand Track is the Centaur Equine Specialty Hospital.
Over several years, the plan came together to build the hospital here near the track where we have easy access to several interstates. We can reach clients not only the central Indiana area, but also basically the greater Midwest.
We provide general surgical service, diagnostic service, medical service, elective and emergency for the greater Indiana and neighboring states.
Back up. So we do all sorts of equine surgery, everything from upper airway surgeries to soft tissue surgeries, emergency surgeries, orthopedics. There's no really very minimal swelling with this procedure. We did a routine castration on a young racehorse prospect. The castration was performed in order to augment his hormonal balances basically as he enters training and try to remove some of the testosterone influence from his daily mindset and also make him easier and safer to handle.
You just slide up into that pocket here, kind of like towards the, yep, and then up. These are 2,000 plus pound patients. We don't want them to be down. And in the past, there's been quite a bit of associated risk with general anesthesia in these big guys. So even though it's a bit more of an effort for the entire team and for us to get this done standing, in the end, ultimately, it is the lower risk than to do these under general anesthesia.
Here at Centaur Equine, we have one of 6 robotic arm standing CT units in the world. What this is basically a CAT scan for horses, and instead of having the circular closed gantry model that people are used to seeing in human hospitals, this machine removes those spatial limitations by having 2 robotic arms that are open and they rotate around the anatomy of the horse that we set them to scan. Basically allows us to get a CAT scan of various parts of the horses with the horse standing and only under sedation, and also being able to image parts of the body that previously were not able to even fit in the gantry of a traditional closed gantry CT unit.
We are doing fairly basic things as well as we're doing the high-end orthopedic procedure.
I had a horse last year cut her leg in a race. We were able to get her there within, 20 minutes to a half hour, and they were able to stitch her leg up, so that's very positive.
I've utilized it a couple times. In times before, when you'd have a traumatic injury or a breathing issue where you needed surgery on a horse, it was mainly you would have to go to Lexington, Kentucky, to some of the horse hospitals there. Having Centaur Equine Specialty Hospital here has just been a godsend for us.
As frosty mornings begin to creep across the Indiana landscape, routines for Standardbred training start to look ahead to the next racing season. But these crisp, clear day breaks seem to put a brief pause in workouts. Even when the snowflakes start to fall, training for the young horses at the Barely Able stable continues on a methodical schedule.
I have my friend and trainer Tim Gilliland work with them. Come the fall of their 1-year-old year, upcoming 2-year-old year, he works with them every day. Every day.
This will be the first time in the snow. Come on, boy. We're just line driving at this point. It's just a technique that you use to get them used to the harness and the tail coop and bridle, get them to feel the bit, get them to feel the lines on their side for the first time. Basically just wanting them to drive straight. When we come back, I'll make him go around some trees up here around the pole and just get him used to turning. It's a process. They got to have some talent too. They got to help you. Hey. This is not very much action, but it can be if they get away from you. Whoa. Turning right and left in a race is a big plus. We try to have them ready to turn when we get to the track. He's been really good today. You never know how they're going to react.
Tim says his next student is a little more skittish, so he watches with a cautious eye.
All right. Whoa. See how twitchy she is? Just tell them no to reassure them you're not trying to hurt them. Whoa, girl. This is the one that tore down the fence. I was just leading her out of the barn. She went to buck and got right out there and just went, just backed right through it. Easy, girl. Easy. Oh, girl. Whoa. Over the years, the ones that give me the most trouble are the best ones. Whoa. She needs more practice. She improves every day. It takes a horse with some want to do this. I mean, a deadhead horse is no good. None of us got hurt, and none of us got knocked down. I call that successful.
The horse and buggy is often the first thing people see when entering Indiana's Amish country. 19% of the Amish in America live in Indiana. Wherever you find a large Amish congregation, there is a substantial number of horses. These horses are termed working horses. One of the ways the Amish utilize their horses is for transportation. Because a former racing Standardbred has already been trained to pull a cart, it's a perfect candidate for hitching to an Amish family's buggy. The majority of Amish still do not use tractors or other machines in their fields. Instead, they use a draft horse or a team of horses to pull plows and other farm equipment. Horsepower, literal horsepower, is the mainstay of their existence. They consider horses a gift from God to enhance the strength of humans, and as such, do a wide variety of tasks around the farm. Mounted police units are not as prevalent as they used to be. Their mounts are part of the working horse group. They often break down the barriers between the police and the public. Horses used for carriage rides, like the ones in downtown Indianapolis, are also part of the working group. If not a carriage ride, how about a sleigh ride? When the snow flies, one has to believe that even the working horses like to take time to play. Work continues for the Standardbreds from the Barely Able stable. They have moved on from line training to workouts at the Shelby County Fairgrounds track.
Well, come on. Let's go this way. There's 20 different ways to break a baby, and everybody's got a different plan. I want to drive them when they train. Well, what other sport allows that? I can't ride a thoroughbred, but I can drive a harness horse. Sitting behind a harness horse, training and pulling out, it's just unbelievable. You can feel the power. And when you've got a good one, you can tell. They're just fluid. It's a rhythmic, amazing gait. Come on. This is too much fun, to sit behind a 1,000-pound animal and pull that right line and have them come out and just go. We were supposed to jog nicely for a couple of laps and then turn a goal mile in about 3 minutes. He just decided today he was going to go out there and go as fast as he can, as quick as he can. In the spring, we're just trying to go a little faster every week, just trying to get them a little stronger, trying to get them sound, trying to get them where they can compete. Every day's not perfect, and that's why you train. It's called training, it's not racing. So hopefully by the time you get to the racetrack, you've got all the bugs worked out, and we hopefully worked one out a little bit today.
Stable chores are just a small part of the duty roster for students at the St. Mary of the Woods College Mary Holman George School of Equine Studies in West Terre Haute, Indiana. The Equine Studies program here is the only one in the state and one of only 20 in the United States.
We currently have 3 equine majors. One is just a general equine studies degree. Then we have an equine training and instruction and an equine business management.
I've always loved horses. I grew up riding them around. I thought I knew a lot, and then I came here and took a riding class, and I didn't know as much as I thought I did.
Stalls have to be done by 10 o'clock. Horses have to be in for feeding by 3 o'clock. If they're sick, they have to take care of them regardless of what time or day it is. Good, look, eyes up, lift.
It's kind of a good way for me to just kind of let my mind do its own thing. Because when I'm riding, it's like nothing else matters.
I teach all of the equine science courses. There's a lot of anatomy that they have to learn. Equine nutrition, genetics, reproduction, exercise physiology. That's the navicular. Yes! You got that one, yeah, you got that one. Then, what were these? We try to expose them as much as possible to the different scenarios that they might encounter when they leave. You don't want them to go out there and say, well, that's not the way you do it.
I went through a bunch of different other majors, and every time I came back to my parents and I said, I really just want to ride. I just want to do something with horses.
Jordan's desire to do something with horses became a reality due to ties the program created with Indiana's horse racing industry.
Some of our Indiana connections are with the Hoosier Horse Park, the racing industry.
Indiana's racing industry in return benefits from the Equine Studies program.
We have a colt program that we have now people lined up from the Indiana Horse Racing Association that have found out about us, that now those trainers are like, how many colts can you take?
Yeah, no, that's what you have to do. Yeah, it's what you have to do.
Is Indiana an attractive option for graduates of the Equine Studies program?
There are jobs here, and that's where most of them go back in the state of Indiana. Some of them go back to their own family-owned businesses, so they'll be taking over for their parents. Other ones begin their own training programs. We have a lot of them that work in the vet clinic industry. There's some that go on to be veterinarians once they've been through our program. I would say we're in the 90 percentile as far as placement. And I'm speaking in equine-related jobs, not just going out and being employed. They're either doing that or they're going on to grad school. We're extremely proud of that.
Just like the students at St. Mary of the Woods, Nat Hill's Standardbreds have to eventually test their new skills in the real world. For most harness horses in Indiana, that means facing their first competition on the county fair circuit.
For a long time, that's all we had was county fairs. It's not a high-dollar place to race, but you can get by.
I'm hoping to make a check. Everybody hopes to make a check. The first 5 that cross the finish line earn money.
County fair is primarily used to get horses early in their career and horses that haven't shown the ability to compete at the big tracks. Give them a place to race. It's especially valuable for 2-year-olds. They don't know anything, and they've not been on a track with other horses, and it's kind of kindergarten time.
There are 2 types of harness horses, pacers and trotters. Each is determined through breeding. The difference between the 2 is their gait. A pacer's gait is similar to the wheels on a locomotive. The legs on the same side move forward and backward in unison. A trotter's gait is more like that of a dog. The left front and right rear legs move back and forth simultaneously, and then the right front and left rear legs step together. Today, Nat brought his trotter, Mr. Buckaroo, to Corydon. This horse has more than just the competition on the track to overcome.
He's nervous. I think you can see he's fretty. He gets nervous. He knows what's about to happen, and he needs to be warmed up. And so you take him out there between races, and you go a mile or 2 or 3 or whatever, and just try to calm him down a little bit. Put a little calmness into him. At least that's the hope, because he gets nervous.
Okay, guys, line him up.
It's finally Mr. Buckaroo's time on the track. He is yellow number 6, and his driver is in green. He drew a number 5 starting position, so he is starting from behind the first 4 horses.
See, these are 3-year-olds, and they kind of know what they're doing. See how much more relaxed they are coming to the gate? They're 3 years old. Some of them have been at Hoosier Park. See the difference in the way they leave? I mean, those are, even though they're trotters, they're aged and they're 3-year-olds and they've done this drill before. Look at him trot. Man, I'm telling you, he wants to do it. What's happened is Indiana has become so good that horses that race at Hoosier Park have trouble. Pretty good horses. And a lot of them have come back to county fairs and made county fair racing a lot tougher than it used to be.
Ultimately, it was not a good day for Nat and Mr. Buckaroo. They only managed a 5th place finish.
He couldn't grab the track. He made a break. He just, that track was kind of loose and he's a little horse and he just couldn't grab a hold of the track. Not a good day. If you can't survive those days, you better not be in the business. Chicken one day, feathers the next.
1, skeletons. 2 to the skeletons. 3 is the bats.
This is called stadium jumping, and they jump sticks, as the jumpers like to refer to them.
Jumpers is like, it's timed, so like you want to be like, you don't want to knock anything down, but you want to go like as fast as you can. And then hunters is more about like your equitation, like how you look, like making sure your form is right, your horse takes the correct leads, and also you don't want to knock anything down.
The horses utilized in this event are part of a large general category, referred to as competition horses. The types of competition can vary greatly, but most usually take place at horse shows.
1, 2, 3.
Oh my goodness.
Riders, please walk and line up with your numbers facing the gate.
If you go off pattern, you get disqualified. So they're looking for the form of the horse, functionality, and scope, which means how wide they jump and how natural the ability of the horse is.
The first one was a bit rough because I mixed up my courses, but my second time through with the optimum time, we did pretty good. It was clear.
Okay, so today we're at a jump show with school. Last weekend we were at a dressage show, which my daughter did independently with her horse from home. The weekend before we were at a jump show through school. And then the weekend before that we were at a barrel show, which was barrel racing that was done with one of her horses from home. So the last 4 weekends we've been to 4 shows in 3 different disciplines.
The Indiana Horse Council tries to represent all the areas of equine activity in the state. They run a horse show in October.
We're up to 9 different disciplines now. We have an open English horse show. We have an open Western horse show.
We've got a couple of classes today, and hopefully we're going to do real well.
We have an all-gated horse show, which is new this year, working equitation, Western dressage. Our stalwart items are our hunter-jumper show and our combined training and dressage shows. Dressage is a very refined and disciplined section of our show. There is a certain maneuver that they have to do. It's very, very intricate and very detailed.
She came up a little bit more in her shoulders and it was easier for her to turn that way.
They're looking for the fluidity of the horse's movement and just an overall picture of the horse and the rider.
We're gonna be a rodeo, I know. It's gonna be a hell of a show.
This is called barrels. A rider comes in and does a specific pattern. They cross the timer. They take, it's kind of like a cloverleaf pattern. If they stay on pattern, don't knock any barrels down, fastest time wins. This is a pole class that is also another contesting class. It is called pole bending. There's a series of poles set up in a straight line, and once again, you cross the timeline, you run straight down to the end pole, and you weave back through the poles, round the end pole, weave back up to the end pole, round it, and run straight back to home. And once again, if you leave all the poles up, you're in good shape. Fastest time wins.
Horse show entrants often start competitions in 4-H programs, like this one in Monroe County, Indiana. It's their first exposure to the grooming and prepping that is needed for a show. Nevertheless, they're most interested in horsemanship.
In horse showing, you have a partner that has its own brain. Sometimes things don't go so well. Sometimes they work out perfectly when your brains start functioning as one. But it's our innate desire to be the best that we can and to show others what we've accomplished. It's our desire to show off our beautiful horses, and it just makes our hearts swell with pride.
Congratulations.
The largest show produced by the Indiana Horse Council is their annual Hoosier Horse Fair and Expo.
We have vendors that come and bring the goodies that we need. It's also to bring to the forefront maybe new innovations in technology.
Over the course of the show, there were over 120 clinic sessions presented by some of the most requested, nationally known instructors. One of the biggest crowd pleasers of the event is the Parade of Breeds.
We showcase at least 20 to 24 different breeds of horses that you don't see very often, and some of them are actually quite rare for the United States.
Tennessee walking horse should slide his back feet directly behind his front feet in the same track in what they call an overstride.
But it's all about the education and the camaraderie of the horse person. We're like a great big equestrian family.
I would say she's more of a horse person than I. Like, it's all horses all the time. Like, it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Yeah.
There's something there for everyone.
As we have followed Nat Hill and the development of his standardbred horses, this is what he has been striving for, an opportunity to race here at Hoosier Park in Anderson, Indiana.
And they're off and pacing. And out with a flash, it's Dr. J. Hanover.
We race approximately at the end of March through the middle of November. We race 5 days a week.
Typically we have 12, 13, or 14 races a night that feature anywhere from 8 to 10 horses in a race. Indiana Sire Stakes are some of our premier races. They're for additional monies that are dedicated just for those races, for those horses who were by an Indiana stallion.
With the enhanced quality of the Indiana horses, the Indiana horses have now been a major player in these races. 10 years ago, once in a while you get an Indiana horse that can compete. Now they're a factor in every race.
We are now breeding as good a harness or standardbred as you can find in the United States. 3 out of the last 4 years, the North American Horse of the Year has been a horse that was sired here in Indiana. We're pretty proud of that.
I think there's a mistaken notion that horse racing is all about gambling. We face this constantly, that, you know, it's all about gambling. Well, of the gambling dollars in the state of Indiana, horse racing is less than 3% of the money gambled. I would submit that horse racing, despite its small gambling impact, has a huge economic and agricultural impact here in the state of Indiana.
Horse racing, whether it be harness racing, quarter horse racing, thoroughbred racing, has an impact on all 92 counties here in Indiana, whether it be through ownership, training, breeding. We have an impact on every county. There's no guarantees in horse racing, and I think that's what makes it so exciting. Everyone's trying, everyone's working hard, but at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily guarantee success. A lot of things involved, and a little bit of luck isn't bad either.
As my dad said, I just want one more good one. And that was when he was about 87 and a half years old. And I said, you're kind of selfish because you've had your share. And he looked at me and he said, that's right, but I still just want one more good one.
One more good one could be the motto for many longtime horse owners. Their resolve has not gone unnoticed. The 2010 Purdue Northwestern study, led by Dr. Susan Connors, revealed the diversity of Indiana's equine industry and its unexpected financial impact.
One of the conclusions that came from the study was that all these diverse components of the equine industry, when looked at and measured together, create a significant economic impact at the state of Indiana. When the study was completed, the equine industry's contribution to the GDP for the state of Indiana was over $2 billion. I believe a lot of people were surprised at that $2 billion economic impact because they tend to think of the equine industry in segments. Either they only know the racing piece or they only know the recreation piece. They aren't thinking normally in terms of the entire equine industry, which is interrelated, and they do as a group contribute a large amount to the economy of the state of Indiana.
Indiana's equine industry is proud of the economic impact it has on the state. The individual horse owner powers those economic effects as each tries to find that one great horse. Whether it's Luke Robertson looking for a faithful trail horse, Emma Janda hoping for that gifted jumper, or Nat Hill looking for the next Dan Patch.
For a DVD or Blu-ray disc of this program and other WTIU produced programs, go online at shopwtiu.org and stream this and other WTIU and PBS produced programs via the PBS app. More information at pbs.org/anywhere. Support for Horsepower, Indiana's equine industry, comes from Smithville, fiber internet, streaming TV, home security, and automation in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.